Most men over 50 are losing testosterone every single year. And the frightening part is, most of them don't realize it until it's already quietly reshaping their energy, their mood, their confidence, and their entire sense of who they are. Research suggests testosterone levels can decline by about 1% annually after 30. But here's what most men never get told. This decline is not simply inevitable aging. There are specific, fixable reasons behind it, and you can actually slow it down, and in many cases, reverse significant parts of it naturally, without injections, without expensive clinics, without overhauling your entire life overnight. And here's the part that stops most men cold when they first hear it. What you've probably been told your whole life, it's just age, accept it, is not the full story. It was never the full story. Because if it were just age, every man would feel exactly the same way at 55. But they don't. Walk into any room of men in their mid-50s. Some of them are sharp, driven, physically strong, mentally clear. They wake up with purpose. They finish the day with something left in the tank. Others are drained before noon, foggy by 2 p.m., checked out by evening. Same age, completely different experience. So what is actually separating those two groups? Why does your energy feel like a fraction of what it used to be? Why is your motivation slipping, even when your life circumstances haven't changed? Why does it feel like something deep inside you, something you can't quite name, is slowly, quietly fading? And maybe the most frustrating part of all, nobody is sitting down with you and actually explaining why. Not your doctor, not the health articles online, not the generic advice to exercise more and sleep better. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what is happening inside your body. The real mechanisms, not the oversimplified version. And more importantly, I'm going to tell you what you can start doing today, this week, to take back control of it. Stay with me. This is worth every minute. Hi, I'm Dr. Hannah Blake. I'm an integrative health physician with over 15 years of experience working specifically with men's hormonal health, metabolic function, and age-related performance decline. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. A woman talking about testosterone? Here's my answer to that. The best cardiologists don't need to have had a heart attack to understand the heart. I have spent the better part of 2 decades in clinical practice, sitting across from men between 45 and 75, reviewing their labs, listening to their symptoms, and helping them rebuild their health from the inside out. I know this topic deeply, and I am here to give you straight answers. No fluff, no vague encouragement, no generic lists you've already seen. We are going to get specific today. As always, everything I share here is for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. Please consult your own physician before making significant changes to your health routine, especially if you have existing conditions or are on medications. Now, let's talk about what is really happening. I want you to picture something. You wake up in the morning, the alarm goes off, and instead of sitting up feeling rested and ready, there's this heaviness. Not quite exhaustion, just an absence of readiness, like your engine is idling too low. You get through the morning on routine and caffeine, but somewhere around 2 or 3 p.m., something shifts. The mental sharpness drops. The motivation to do anything demanding just evaporates. You push through. You always push through. But it costs more than it used to, and you tell yourself what most men tell themselves. Just getting older. This is normal. But here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. Normal and inevitable are two completely different things. Something being common does not make it unavoidable. Because when testosterone starts to decline, particularly when it declines faster than it should, it doesn't just affect one area of your life. It threads itself through everything. Lower physical drive and stamina, slower muscle recovery after any kind of exertion, a subtle but persistent change in mood that's hard to put your finger on, reduced mental sharpness, the kind where you walk into a room and forget why, or lose your train of thought mid-sentence. A quiet, creeping drop in confidence that most men never speak out loud. And here is what nobody talks about enough. It changes how you show up in your relationships. Not in dramatic, obvious ways. In quiet ones. Less patience with the people you love. Less energy to be genuinely present. Less interest in the things that used to excite you. Hobbies, adventures, spontaneity. a kind of emotional flatness that settles in so gradually you almost don't notice it happening. Your partner notices before you do. Your kids notice. Sometimes your colleagues notice. But you've been adapting, slowly lowering your own baseline, accepting less as the new normal. And that adaptation, that quiet surrender, is one of the most damaging things that can happen to a man in his 50s and 60s. Here's the real danger. It's not the low testosterone itself. It's the years that pass while you assume nothing can be done about it. Because if this continues for another year, 2 years, 5 years, you don't just feel a bit off. You become a lower version of yourself, less active, less engaged, less present in your own life. And eventually, that lower version starts to feel like just who you are. That is what I am here to help you prevent. And here's what most approaches get wrong. They focus entirely on the symptoms. Energy supplements, testosterone ads, quick fixes aimed at how you feel on the surface. But they miss what is actually driving it underneath. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to explain in the next section, this is the part that will change how you think about your health for the rest of your life. Let me give you a framework that makes all of this click. Think of testosterone like the charge level in a high-performance battery. When that battery is fully charged, everything runs the way it's supposed to. Energy is steady, focus is sharp, strength is there when you need it. Your drive, physical, mental, emotional, is intact. But when that charge starts dropping, slowly, quietly, without a single dramatic moment, everything still technically runs. You still function, you still get through your days, just not as well, not as fully, not as you. Now here's where it gets interesting and important. Mechanism 1. Hormonal signaling breakdown. Most people assume the body simply makes less testosterone with age, the way a machine wears out over time. But that is a dramatic oversimplification. Your testosterone production is governed by a communication chain. Your brain, specifically the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, sends hormonal signals down to the testes, essentially instructing them to produce testosterone. After 50, this communication system can degrade. The signals weaken. The instructions become less clear. So even if your body still has the biological capacity to produce healthy testosterone levels, it isn't being told to do so with the same intensity. This is why some men experience a much sharper decline than others, even at the same age, even with similar lifestyles. The signaling pathway is different. And the good news, this signaling can be influenced. It is not fixed. Mechanism 2. The aromatization problem. This one surprises most men when they first hear it. Fat tissue, particularly visceral fat, the kind that accumulates around your abdomen, does not just sit there passively. It is biochemically active. And one of the things it does is convert testosterone into estrogen through a process called aromatization. Let me say that again clearly. Excess abdominal fat actively takes your testosterone and turns it into estrogen. So you are not just dealing with less testosterone being produced. You are dealing with the testosterone you do have being chemically converted into something else. This is why waist circumference is one of the most significant predictors of testosterone levels in men over 50. It is not cosmetic, it is hormonal. The thing that's quietly lowering your testosterone faster than almost anything else is not your age. It's what's accumulating around your waist, and what that fat is actually doing to your hormones. Mechanism 3. Deep sleep and testosterone production. Most people understand that sleep affects energy, but very few understand the specific hormonal relationship between sleep quality and testosterone. Here is the reality. The majority of your daily testosterone production happens during deep sleep, specifically during the slow wave and REM stages of your sleep cycle. So if your sleep is fragmented, if you're waking up multiple times a night, if you're not reaching those deeper stages consistently, your testosterone production is being cut short, every single night. You could be spending 8 hours in bed and still producing significantly less testosterone than a man who sleeps 6 hours of genuinely deep, uninterrupted sleep. It's not about hours, it's about depth and quality. Mechanism 4. The cortisol-testosterone seesaw. Chronic stress is one of the most underestimated hormonal disruptors in men's health. When you are under sustained stress, work pressure, financial worry, relationship tension, even low-grade background anxiety, your body produces elevated levels of cortisol. That is your primary stress hormone. And cortisol has a direct, documented, antagonistic relationship with testosterone. Think of it as a biological seesaw. When cortisol stays elevated for extended periods, testosterone is actively suppressed. The two hormones compete for the same biochemical resources, and when stress is chronic, cortisol consistently wins. Now let me ask you something honest. When was the last time you were genuinely, fully relaxed? Not distracted by a screen, not half asleep on the couch, actually calm, at ease, present. For many men, that answer is uncomfortable. And that chronic, low-level stress, the kind you've normalized and stopped even noticing, may be doing more damage to your hormonal health than anything else. Mechanism 5. Nutritional deficiencies you don't know you have. There are specific micronutrients that are directly required for testosterone synthesis. Zinc is one of the most critical. It plays a direct role in the enzymatic processes that produce testosterone. Vitamin D functions almost like a hormone itself and has strong associations with testosterone levels in clinical research. Here is what makes this particularly important. Deficiencies in both of these nutrients are extremely common in men over 50, and most men have no idea they are deficient. You can feel relatively normal and still be running low on the exact nutrients your body needs to maintain healthy testosterone production. This is the full picture of what's happening. Not just age, not just bad luck. Specific, identifiable, addressable mechanisms. And now, we fix them. I'm going to walk you through 7 evidence-informed strategies, and I've saved the most overlooked one for last. Don't skip ahead. Fix 1. Compound strength training. Resistance training is one of the most well-documented natural stimulants of testosterone production available to men of any age. When you place significant mechanical load on your muscles, particularly large muscle groups like your legs, back, and chest, your body responds by upregulating testosterone production. This is not about aesthetics. It is a physiological signal. You are telling your system that physical capacity is needed, and your hormones respond accordingly. You do not need to train like an athlete. You need consistency. 2 to 3 sessions per week. Compound movements, squats, deadlifts, rows, presses. Progressive load over time, even if the progression is small and slow. Many men I have worked with report noticeably improved energy and mood within the first 3 to 4 weeks of consistent training, not because they've transformed their body, but because the hormonal signal has already begun to shift. Fix 2. Rebuilding sleep architecture. I want to be precise here, because sleep better is advice so generic it has become meaningless. What you are aiming for is not just more hours. You are aiming for deeper, more continuous sleep cycles, because that is where testosterone production actually happens. Practical steps that have the most evidence behind them. Keep your room genuinely dark. Not dim, dark. Even small amounts of light during sleep can disrupt your circadian rhythm and reduce deep sleep quality. Maintain a consistent sleep and wake time, even on weekends. Your body's hormonal cycles are anchored to your circadian rhythm. Irregular schedules fragment that rhythm. Reduce screen exposure, specifically blue light, for at least 60 to 90 minutes before bed. This is not optional advice. Blue light actively suppresses melatonin, which governs your transition into deep sleep. Keep your room cool. Core body temperature naturally drops during deep sleep. A cool sleeping environment supports that process. One of my patients, a 58-year-old contractor who thought his fatigue was just the nature of physical work, made these sleep changes and nothing else for 3 weeks. He described his mornings as feeling unlocked again. That was his word, unlocked. Fix 3. Targeted reduction of visceral fat. Given what we discussed about aromatization, the conversion of testosterone to estrogen by abdominal fat tissue, reducing visceral fat is not just a health goal. It is a direct hormonal intervention. The important thing to understand is that this does not require extreme effort or dramatic caloric restriction. Even modest, consistent reductions in abdominal fat produce meaningful improvements in testosterone levels. This is documented. 5 to 10% body weight reduction in overweight men has been associated with significant hormonal improvements in clinical studies. The approach that works, and that is sustainable, is gradual. Slightly better food choices consistently, more daily movement, less highly processed food, more protein to support muscle retention, no crash diets, no extreme protocols, slow, consistent, permanent change. Fix 4. Deliberate stress management. I want to address something directly here because I know how many men respond to this recommendation. I don't have time to manage stress. Stress is just part of my life. I understand that, and I'm not asking you to eliminate stress. That is neither possible nor even desirable. Some stress is healthy and necessary. What I am asking you to do is intentionally interrupt your stress response for a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes per day. Walking, particularly in natural environments, has measurable cortisol-reducing effects. Deliberate breathing exercises, genuine quiet, even progressive muscle relaxation before bed. The mechanism is straightforward. You are actively lowering your cortisol baseline. And as cortisol comes down, testosterone has room to come back up. 10 minutes a day. That is the starting point. Your testosterone isn't just shaped in the gym, it's shaped by every cortisol spike you don't recover from, every night of poor sleep you accept as normal, and every stress you carry into the following day. Fix 5. Address nutritional deficiencies directly. Zinc and vitamin D are your starting points. For zinc, red meat, shellfish, particularly oysters, pumpkin seeds, and legumes are strong dietary sources. If your diet is consistently low in these foods, a quality zinc supplement is worth discussing with your doctor. For vitamin D, regular, moderate sunlight exposure is the most natural source. 20 minutes of midday sun on exposed skin several times per week can meaningfully impact your levels. If you live in a northern climate or have limited sun exposure, supplementation is frequently appropriate and worth testing for. I would strongly recommend asking your physician to test your actual serum levels of both before supplementing. Many men are deficient in one or both without any obvious symptoms, and knowing your actual numbers allows you to address the deficiency precisely rather than guessing. Fix 6. Reduce alcohol consumption. I am not going to tell you to stop drinking entirely. That is not the point. But I am going to tell you the mechanism clearly so you can make an informed decision. Alcohol affects testosterone in multiple ways. It impairs the liver's ability to regulate hormone metabolism. It disrupts sleep architecture. Even moderate drinking reduces deep sleep quality significantly. And it increases the conversion of testosterone to estrogen in the same way that excess body fat does. Regular alcohol use, even at moderate levels, is associated with lower testosterone over time. Cutting back does not have to be dramatic. Reducing from daily to several times per week, reducing portion sizes, eliminating late-night drinking that fragments your sleep. Small, consistent reductions produce real hormonal differences over months. Fix 7. Non-exercise physical movement throughout your day. This is the one most overlooked by almost every resource on this topic, including your doctor. Exercise, structured workouts, matters. We covered that. But what happens in the other 22 or 23 hours of your day matters enormously too. Men who sit for extended periods throughout the day, regardless of whether they exercise, show different hormonal profiles than men who maintain consistent physical movement through their waking hours. This is about NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and it has direct metabolic and hormonal implications. Walk to places when you can. Stand rather than sit when the option exists. Take movement breaks during long sedentary stretches. Walk after meals. Even a 10-minute walk after dinner improves metabolic function and sleep quality both. This is not about burning calories. It is about keeping your physiology in an active, engaged state throughout the day, which sends a consistent hormonal signal that your body needs to maintain physical capacity. Before I get to the story I want to share with you, I need to cover the mistakes, because I have seen men do everything right and still sabotage their own progress with these. Mistake 1. Trying to change everything at once. This is the most common one. A man gets genuinely motivated, he hears something that resonates, and he overhauls his entire routine in week 1. New diet, new workout schedule, new sleep habits, new supplements, new stress protocol. And then week 3 arrives. Life gets busy, the routine collapses, and because it all collapsed at once, he concludes it didn't work and goes back to his previous habits. Pick 2 changes. Make them consistent for 6 weeks, then add more. Consistency across months beats intensity across days every single time. Mistake 2. Optimizing diet while ignoring sleep. I see this constantly. A man becomes genuinely disciplined about his nutrition, cleaner food, better macros, real effort, but his sleep remains fragmented and poor, and his results stall. Because if testosterone production is being cut short every night due to poor sleep quality, dietary improvements alone cannot compensate. Sleep is not a supporting factor, it is a primary one. Mistake 3. Expecting meaningful change in 2 weeks. Real, hormonal, physiological change, the kind that reshapes how you feel and function, takes time. Typically 8 to 12 weeks of consistent effort before you see clear, measurable differences. The men who succeed are not the ones who feel results the fastest. They are the ones who keep going past the point where most people quit. Mistake 4. Believing it's too late. This one costs men years. I have worked with men in their late 60s and early 70s who assumed their window had closed, that whatever was gone was simply gone. And I have seen those same men, 6 months later, feeling and functioning in ways they had not in over a decade. Your system remains adaptable. Not the same as at 30, but genuinely, meaningfully responsive to the right inputs, at any age. The only thing that is truly too late is the years you spend waiting to start. I want to tell you about a man I'll call David. David was 63 when he first came to see me. He hadn't come in because of a crisis, no dramatic health event, no rock-bottom moment. He came in because of a feeling. He sat across from me in my office, and he said something I have heard many versions of over the years, but never quite so simply put. He said, "I don't feel like myself anymore, and I can't tell you exactly when that started. I just know it's been a long time." Low energy, poor sleep, a body that felt heavier and slower than it used to, motivation that came and went unpredictably, a marriage he described as fine, but with a quiet distance in it that bothered him. Nothing dramatic, just off. We looked at his blood work. His testosterone was low, not critically, but significantly below optimal for a man his age. His vitamin D was deficient. His cortisol patterns suggested chronic, sustained stress. We did not start with medication. We started with a plan built on exactly what I have shared with you today. Strength training twice a week. Simple, consistent, not extreme. A rebuilt sleep routine focused on depth, not just duration. Daily walking. 30 minutes every day, non-negotiable. A real conversation about his alcohol habits, which he reduced significantly. Targeted nutritional support for his documented deficiencies. Week 4. He described his mornings as different, not transformed, just better. More like a starting point than a recovery from the night before. Week 8. His wife told him he seemed more present. That was the word she used. Present. Not younger, not like a different person. Just more there, more engaged, more like the man she had married. He told me that was the moment he understood what had been missing. Not energy, not strength. Not even testosterone, technically. Presence. His own presence in his own life. That is what this is really about. I share David's story not to make promises. Every man's physiology is different and results vary. But to show you what becomes possible when you stop accepting it's just age as a final answer and start treating your health as something worth actively investing in. Let's bring it all together. Number 1, testosterone decline is real, measurable, and genuinely affects your quality of life. But it is not simply the unavoidable tax of getting older. Number 2, there are specific, identifiable mechanisms behind accelerated decline. Hormonal signaling degradation, aromatization from visceral fat, disrupted sleep architecture, chronic cortisol elevation, and nutritional deficiencies. All of these are addressable. Number 3, the fixes are not exotic or expensive. Consistent resistance training, deep sleep prioritization, gradual visceral fat reduction, deliberate daily stress interruption, targeted nutritional support, reduced alcohol, non-exercise movement throughout your day. Number 4. The mistakes that derail most men are doing too much, too fast, neglecting sleep while focusing elsewhere, expecting fast results, and believing it is too late to matter. Number 5. It is never too late. Your system remains responsive. What it needs is the right signal, applied consistently over time. You are not slowing down. Your system is asking for a different kind of attention than it needed at 35. Now you know what to give it. And as always, please consult your physician before making significant changes, particularly if you have existing health conditions or are on any medications. If something in this video shifted the way you think about your health, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this content reach other men who need to hear it. I post every Tuesday and Friday. If you want to keep getting information like this, real, specific, no fluff, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. And I want to ask you something directly before you go. What is the one change from today's video that you know you need to make, but haven't started yet? Drop it in the comments below. Seriously, I read them. And there is something powerful about writing it down and putting it somewhere public. It makes it real in a way that just thinking about it never does. In my next video, I am covering something that almost no one in this space is talking about. The single daily habit that is quietly and consistently destroying energy and hormonal health in men over 50. It's not what you think it is, and once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. You will want to be here for that one. I will see you then.